And away we go, episode 1110 of the Galdi podcast. It is Thursday, July 10th, 2025, the day after the Commanders went back for their future. The team on Wednesday morning revealing a new alternate uniform for this coming season, and the new alt uni is what many expected, a Redskins-like uni. A uni straight out of the glory days of the Skins in the 1980s and early 1990s. I am a big fan of our team doing this. I 100% believe that this uniform should be the team's number one uniform as soon as possible, and indications are that that could be the case as soon as the 2026 season. Hello and welcome to this Thursday installment of the Galdi podcast. Regardless of where you stand on the name Redskins, there does seem to be an overwhelming positive reaction to this new alternate uniform, which, yes, does have the Commanders' W as the logo on the helmet. But otherwise, this is a uniform straight out of the Skins Super Bowl championship era. Next segment, in-depth reaction to and analysis of the new alternate uniform, which soon could be the team's number one uniform, including the strategy that I believe this action is representative of from team ownership, the Josh Harris Group. Always remember that the Josh Harris Group is led by some rather successful business people, and managing partner Josh Harris and limited partners Mitchell Rales, Mark Ein, and Magic Johnson. And I do believe that there could be something very strategic with what is happening here. I'll explain.
Strategery.
Yes, strategery. Thank you, Will Ferrell. Also on the show, I'll talk Nationals. Their four-game losing streak ended with an 8-2 win at the St. Louis Cardinals on Wednesday night as starting pitcher Mackenzie Gore allowed one run in 6 innings with 7 strikeouts versus 1 walk, and James Wood, as the Nats starting left fielder and number 2 batter, went 1 for 4 with a solo homer. I'll discuss the game and react to Nats starting pitcher Trevor Williams being done for the season, and react to the first extended public comments from Mike Rizzo since being fired as Nats president of baseball operations and general manager on Sunday evening. No game for the Orioles on Wednesday night. Their game against the New York Mets at Oriole Park at Camden Yards for Wednesday night at 7:05 was postponed due to rain. The two teams will play a split doubleheader on Thursday. Game 1 at 12:05 p.m., Game 2 at 5:05 p.m. Before we get to some feedback, our Wizards, they on Wednesday morning did announce the trade that was reported on Tuesday night, them acquiring Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley, and a second-round pick in the 2026 NBA draft from the San Antonio Spurs for Kelly Olynyk. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. From Richard Park on X on my hair, writes Richard, just saw you on NBC4. Get a haircut. Just kidding, but not used to your longer hair. Thank you for that, Richard. Yep. I was on NBC4 on Monday evening discussing Nats managing principal owner Mark Lerner on Sunday evening, having announced having fired Nats president of baseball operations and general manager Mike Rizzo and manager Davey Martinez. And yeah, my hair has gotten long. Not that long, but the longest that my hair has been in a long time, down past the ears. My health problems back in January went without a haircut for a while, and when I got better, I decided to let the hair keep growing. Why? I don't know. You only live once. Who knows for how long each of us is going to live? So I said, what the heck? Let the hair grow. First time that I've had anything close to long hair since 2003. I'm going to cut the hair eventually, probably fairly soon. But for now, I'm letting it go, man. My wife keeps saying, what are you going to do about your hair? And I'm like, I don't know. And that's exactly the point. Email from Ethan on legendary Redskins tight end Jerry Smith. Writes Ethan, hi Al, hope all is well with you. I wanted to share this article I wrote for WETA about Redskins legend Jerry Smith in honor of Pride Month. While Smith is often remembered as the first professional athlete to announce that he was suffering from AIDS, which he tragically died of in 1986, his incredible playing career is still grossly underappreciated across the league. I was hoping you could keep shouting out the travesty that is Smith not being in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Smith wasn't just one of the best tight ends of his era, he was one of the greatest to ever play the position. The numbers back it up. During his 13 seasons with Washington, he amassed 60 touchdown receptions, a career record for tight ends that stood for 27 years until broken by Shannon Sharpe in 2003. Sharpe retired with just 2 more touchdowns than Smith. He finished his career with 13 more touchdown catches than the great Ozzie Newsome. Smith's 421 career receptions for 5,496 yards are also better stats than 3 current Hall of Fame tight ends, John Mackey, Dave Casper, and Charlie Sanders. Smith had just 6 fewer career receptions than Mike Ditka had. When evaluating any player's Hall of Fame worthiness, you need to keep in mind the state of the sport when that player played. By that logic, Smith deserves to be in the Hall even more. In 1967, during a time when tight ends were utilized more as blockers than offensive weapons, Smith caught 12 touchdowns. That mark stood tied for the single-season franchise record until Terry McLaurin surpassed it this past January. The difference is McLaurin had 3 more games to do it in than Smith, who was limited by a 14-game schedule. As Redskins quarterback Sonny Jurgensen said in a 2014 NFL Films documentary about Smith's life, if we had had pre-snap movement in those days, if I could move Jerry, just put him out wide and start him in motion, then they couldn't jam him and he'd have been so much better. I'd encourage anybody to look up Smith's highlights and watch his incredible speed and great hands in action. Smith was known for his humility and selflessness during his career, but that shouldn't stop us Washington fans from singing his praises any chance we get. Not only has Smith not been inducted into the Hall, he has never even been a finalist. That is flat out ridiculous. Here's to hoping some Al Galdi listeners can help keep the conversation going and get number 87 the recognition he deeply deserves. Thank you for the email, Ethan. I agree with you totally and completely on Jerry Smith and have said plenty of times that he deserves to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. There are many Skins all-time greats who should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame but aren't. Among them is Jerry Smith. Absolutely. He, to me, is the greatest tight end in franchise history. My top 4 Washington tight ends of all time. Number 1, Jerry Smith. Number 2, my good friend Chris Cooley. Sorry, Chris, but number 2. Number 2 ain't bad. Number 3, Don Warren. Number 4, Jordan Reed. And I do think that Jerry Smith being dead for so long has hurt his candidacy for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He sadly died of AIDS in October 1986, a long time ago. He was just 43. That 2014 NFL Network of Football Life documentary on Smith did help to revive his Pro Football Hall of Fame candidacy, but that documentary came out 11 years ago now, and he remains far too forgotten. An all-time great player for sure. Email from Larry Center on our Wizards, writes Larry. Al, if anybody would know this, you would. With their recent trades, have the Wizards set an all-time NBA record for most first-round draft choices on one roster. Thanks, Al. Keep up the great work with the DMV's Best Sports Podcast. So glad your family allows you to spend so much time with us every day. Thank you very much for that, Larry. Good question. Hard to research something like that, but there's no doubt that our rebuilding and tanking Wizards now are stacked with players taken in the first rounds of NBA drafts. The Wizards now have the following players taken in the first rounds of NBA drafts: Malachi Branham, Bub Carrington, Bilal Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, A.J. Johnson, Trey Johnson, Dylan Jones, Corey Kispert, C.J. McCollum, Chris Middleton, Alex Sarr, Marcus Smart, Blake Wesley, and Cam Whitmore. A whopping 14 players taken in the first rounds of NBA drafts, and the majority of these players were taken in the first rounds of recent NBA drafts, and thus are swings by Monumental Basketball president Michael Winger and Wizards general manager Will Dawkins. Take as many swings as possible and see what connects. I am a big fan of this strategy in an NBA rebuild. Hey, please consider subscribing to the podcast. If you're not already doing that, subscribing to the podcast costs nothing. Make sure that you never miss an episode and helps out the podcast a lot. And if you're already subscribing, thank you. Sometimes in life, the simple and obvious thing to do is the exact right thing to do, right? Such was the case with the Commanders' alternate uniform that was revealed on Wednesday morning. The Commanders, the previous Wednesday afternoon, July 2nd, announced that they, the following Wednesday, July 9th, would reveal a new alternate uniform. The widespread expectation was that the new alt uni would be something that harkened back to the glory days of the franchise in the 1980s and early 1990s. And sure enough, the alternate uniform, which was revealed on Wednesday morning, is a Redskins uniform from the glory days of the franchise in the 1980s and early 1990s. I read to you from a press release from the Commanders, quote, "On the 93rd anniversary of the inception of the franchise, the Washington Commanders have announced new Super Bowl era uniforms and helmet honoring some of the greatest teams in the franchise's history. The uniform will debut on November 2nd when the team hosts the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday Night Football. The team will return to the historic Threads during Week 13 as they welcome the Denver Broncos to Northwest Stadium on Sunday, November 30th, and again on Christmas Day when they host the Dallas Cowboys on Netflix." The uniform design draws inspiration from an era that saw the team win 3 Super Bowls and 4 NFC championships under the leadership of Coach Joe Gibbs and featured many iconic legends. The uniform's latest rendition has been intricately designed to pay tribute to the club's storied past while also appealing to a new generation of fans. Cut from modern performance standards, the Super Bowl era uniform mimics that of the one worn for all 3 Super Bowl wins during the 1980s and 1990s. The white jersey is complemented by burgundy numbers outlined in gold on the front, back, and shoulder pads, as well as burgundy letters outlined in gold on each player's nameplate and burgundy and gold stripes on the sleeves. Burgundy pants are accompanied by white and gold stripes, and white socks are enhanced by burgundy and gold striping. The helmet features the iconic gold face mask and striping pattern worn for all 3 Super Bowl wins with the addition of the current logo, end quote. Also included in the press release was a quote from team president Mark Klaus, quote, "We are excited to celebrate Washington's incredible history with these iconic Super Bowl era uniforms this season. Ever since Josh Harris and our ownership group acquired the team back in 2023, they've placed great value in finding ways to connect the past and present and honor those that made the burgundy and gold what it is today. These uniforms recognize the most successful era of our franchise, one that reflects a culture of excellence and encompasses many historical moments and special memories amongst our fan base. Our coaches, players, and the entire organization could not be more excited to celebrate our team's legacy while creating new memories in these uniforms this season," end quote. I love that the Commanders are going with an alternate uniform based on a uniform from the Super Bowl championship days of the Redskins. I absolutely believe that this alternate uniform should be the team's number 1 uniform as soon as possible. The speculation has been that could happen as soon as the 2026 season, and sure enough, we on Wednesday morning had this from NFL insider Albert Breer of the MMQB in a post on X, quote, "The Commanders unveil beautiful new alternates, bank on these becoming permanent in 2026. Just like how the Jets went from the 80s throwbacks being alternates in 2023 to permanent last year," end quote. There was never any reason for the Commanders to get so far away from the Redskins uniforms when the name went from Redskins to Washington Football Team and then Washington Football Team to Commanders. Just to reset the timeline, the name Redskins was retired in July 2020. The team was the Washington Football Team from July 2020 until... wait for it, 2.2.22. And the team has been the Commanders ever since. But along the way, the uniforms got all out of sorts. Some versions were better than others, but there with the rebranding was like this self-imposed need to overthink things, when just sticking with what people had come to love was always the way to go. Remember who engineered the rebrand? A checked-out lead owner in Dan Snyder, who, even when he was checked in, made terrible decisions, and a group of people who were outsiders and who proved to be short-timers. Talking about Jason Wright, who lasted for less than 4 years as Washington team president, August 2020 to July 2024. Talking about Greg Resch. He, in November 2020, was hired as the organization's chief financial officer. We, in September 2022, learned that he was leaving the team. Talking about Will Misselbrook. He, in May 2021, was hired as the organization's first ever chief creative and digital officer. We, in January 2023, learned that he was leaving the team. Resch and Misselbrook had big-time roles in the team's business operations, and it turned out that these guys were carpetbaggers. Now, maybe not by design. Maybe these guys just couldn't stand working for Dan Snyder. But whatever the case, the likes of Greg Resch and Will Misselbrook came, had major say-so on things, and left. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Now, something about the Commanders' alternate uniform from the Super Bowl championship era of the Redskins that I do want to acknowledge is this. If you are under the age of, say, 40, there's an at least decent chance that this uniform doesn't do much for you because you have no memories of the dynasty of 1982 through 1992, and you associate this uniform with the bad run of 1993 through 2019. If you fit this description, I get where you're coming from. I totally do. Look, I'm 45. My first season as a Redskins fan was 1987, so I was lucky enough to experience the 1987 and 1991 Super Bowl championship seasons, but I was too young to experience the first half of the glory days, including the 1982 Super Bowl championship season and 1983 NFC championship season. And for most of my life, this uniform has been associated with a team that was bad and dysfunctional. So if you are not feeling this alternate uniform, to say nothing of not feeling this alternate uniform as the perhaps number one uniform starting next season, I hear you. I do. But there are so many people who do love this uniform, myself included, and the overwhelming reaction to this reveal of this uniform as an alternate uniform has been positive. This is another public relations home run by Commanders ownership, the Josh Harris Group. And as for the Josh Harris Group, specifically managing partner Josh Harris. So he, at his end-of-season press conference this past February 3rd, the presser at which he said that the team was sticking with the name Commanders, did also, as you may recall, hint at a retro uniform of some kind. He at one point said, quote, "You're going to see us head back towards, honoring our past and bringing it together with our future," end quote. Well, he now has paid off on that quote. Bravo. The helmet for this retro alternate uniform does not have a Redskins logo. The logo on the helmet is the W. I believe that Josh Harris not changing the team name back to Redskins is much more about the NFL not allowing him to do so for sponsorship and financial reasons than him not changing the team name back to Redskins is about him not actually wanting to do so. The logo is trickier, but I do think that it's quite possible that the NFL just will not allow the Commanders to go back to having the Redskins logo of the proud Native American warrior. I think that it is quite possible that the NFL has told the team no Native American themed name or imagery, period. Even though, yes, the logo is no longer as taboo as it had been. The logo now is displayed in multiple parts of Northwest Stadium, and the logo no longer is being censored. Take, for example, the Commanders on May 19th on X posting wallpaper in honor of the birthday of former Skins linebacker and current Commanders radio analyst London Fletcher. The wallpaper included multiple very visible images of the Redskins helmet with the logo of the proud Native American warrior. Remember, the NFL in February 2024 on X put out Super Bowl-themed posts in which the league censored the Redskins helmet with the proud Native American warrior. But bottom line, I do believe that Josh Harris's hands are tied with the name Redskins and the Redskins logo. So if you're disappointed about the helmet, I would ask you to keep that in mind, that Harris's hands, I believe anyway, are tied with the name Redskins and the Redskins logos. Now, I do want to mention something that I have mentioned previously and is worth mentioning again. Darren Thacker, he is the chief of staff for United States Senator Steve Daines, a Republican representing Montana. Senator Daines is the senator who advocated for the late Walter Blackie Wetzel, the Wetzel family, and the Blackfeet tribe of Montana. The Wetzel family, a Native American family that played a major role in the design of the Redskins logo of the proud Native American warrior. Darren Thacker follows me on X, was raised along the Chesapeake Bay, as he states in his X profile, and recently on X has been responding to some responses that I've received. He, in a post on X on June 10th, wrote this, quote, regarding corporate sponsors, we shared history of Blackfeet logo with 10 to 12 major NFL sponsors. None expressed concern to us with concept of featuring the logo on throwback unis or NFL licensed merch, end quote. And what is meant by, quote, Blackfeet logo, end quote, is the Redskins logo of the proud Native American warrior. How about this? Thacker, in a post on X on June 28th, wrote, quote, FedEx was one of the 10 to 12 corporate sponsors who shared with us that they would have no issue with the Commanders using the iconic logo on a throwback uniform or vintage merch, end quote. That, of course, is rather significant because it was FedEx that on Thursday evening, July 2nd, 2020, put out the all-time statement, quote, we have communicated to the team in Washington our request that they change the team name, end quote. What Darren Thacker has written is interesting and notable and does offer hope for the possibility of a Redskins logo of some kind being used at some point in some way. What Thacker has written, in my opinion, deserves attention. But other than on this podcast, what Thacker has written has gotten basically zero attention. But I did want to highlight this. The Josh Harris Group has made it clear that the name Redskins is not coming back and that the team is sticking with the name Commanders. Josh Harris and the top limited partner in the Harris Group, Mitchell Rales, they in September 2023 spoke before the Economic Club of Washington, D.C. And Rales, during that discussion, said, quote, we're not focused on the previous name. That ship has sailed, end quote. And as mentioned, Harris, during his end-of-season press conference this past February 3rd, made it clear that the team is sticking with the name Commanders. Heck, even President Donald Trump has not offered that much on the Commanders going back to the name Redskins. Trump this past April 23rd, during a session with reporters in the Oval Office at the White House, was asked if he will be involved in negotiations for the Commanders' next stadium to be on the RFK Stadium site in Washington, D.C., and that because that land is federal land, if he would require the team to change its name back to Redskins. He did not directly answer the question. He did speak out against teams with Native American-themed names changing those names. He, regarding the name Redskins, said, quote, Washington, the Redskins, perhaps that's a little bit different, end quote. Now, he did say that he had spoken to people of Native American heritage who love the name Redskins and did say that the name Redskins is better than the name Commanders, but he did not go all in on the team needing to go back to being the Redskins. And then there was what Trump said this past Sunday. He, during a session with reporters this past Sunday before boarding Air Force One and departing Bedminster, New Jersey en route to D.C., was asked about the name of the Commanders. Here was that exchange.
Like to see the Commanders change the name back to Redskins?
Well, you want me to make a controversial statement? I would. I wouldn't have changed the name, but that's there. It just doesn't have the same. It doesn't have the same ring to me. But you know, winning can make everything sound good. So if they win, all of a sudden the Commander sounds good. But I wouldn't have changed the name.
Okay, so Trump did say that the Commanders should go back to being the Redskins, but he also acknowledged that the team doing well perhaps makes it that the name Commanders will truly become accepted. These public comments from Trump on the name issue have not been what I think a lot of people expected them to be. So the notion of the team going back to the name Redskins, look, I never say never, but I would not be holding my breath on that happening. And like I've said, I believe that Josh Harris's hands are tied with the name Redskins and the Redskins logos. But could it be, might it be, that Harris is employing a strategy of okay, we'll do everything but be the Redskins. We'll go back to having as our number one uniform a uniform from the Super Bowl championship era of the Redskins. We, in multiple spots at Northwest Stadium, will feature the Redskins logo of the proud Native American warrior. We online will post videos and photos of players wearing Redskins uniforms. We at Northwest Stadium will continue to play Hail to the Commanders, to which almost nobody actually says Hail to the Commanders. What people say, of course, is Hail to the Redskins. All of this and more is perhaps part of a strategy of, okay, maybe we can't be the Redskins, but we can do everything but be the Redskins. The Josh Harris Group has put a lot of time and thought into this issue of the team's name and overall branding. Trust me on that. This reveal of an alternate uniform straight out of the peak years of the Redskins for the purpose perhaps of becoming the team's number one uniform beginning with the 2026 season is the latest action in a long line of actions of the team being the Redskins without actually being the Redskins. This isn't all coincidence. There, to me, is a strategy behind what's going on here. Hey, the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers, continues to do great work. Just recently, an $8 million jury verdict in Baltimore City Circuit Court in a case in which the Nace Law Group represented the family of a 42-year-old man who died after a simple procedure. Lead attorney Chris Nace is a big Commanders fan, a big supporter of this podcast, and his firm wins trials. If you have a case, contact the Nace Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group is tremendous. It is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. Lead attorney Chris Nace is an experienced trial attorney who is not afraid to take cases to trials, and that's because the Nace Law Group wins trials. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. Well, one of the most interesting things to me regarding Nationals interim general manager Mike DeBartolo will be what he determines with the Nats rebuild, which, as I've been saying for weeks, isn't working. Does DeBartolo view the rebuild as a lost cause and thus the Nats need to start over, or does he view the rebuild as salvageable? Not an easy call, but what he determines with this issue may well be reflected by what he does with Nats ace Mackenzie Gore. Gore right now is at the same point contractually that outfielder Juan Soto was at when the Nats traded Soto and first baseman Josh Bell to the San Diego Padres on August 2nd, 2022, what was 2022 MLB trade deadline day, for a package of players that included Mackenzie Gore and also James Wood. Wood is under team control through the 2030 season. We have a ways to go until he's a free agent, but Gore is only under team control through the 2027 season. Soto, when he was traded in 2022, was under team control through the 2024 season. MLB's 2025 trade deadline is on July 31st at 6 p.m. Eastern. What should/will the Nats do with Mackenzie Gore? Well, Gore and Wood are the Nats' two All-Stars for this this season, and each guy on Wednesday night did well in an 8-2 win at the St. Louis Cardinals in Game 2 of a 3-game series. The victory snapped the Nats' 4-game losing streak, improved them to 38-54 in MLB's 2025 regular season. The Nats starting pitcher was Mackenzie Gore, and he was really good. He allowed 1 run in 6 innings with 7 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He gave up 5 hits, which were 2 doubles and 3 singles. He threw 89 pitches, 55 strikes versus 34 balls. So Mackenzie Gore now for this regular season, 19 starts, ERA of 3.02, whip of 1.20, strikeouts per 9 innings of 11.26. He this season has been plagued by poor run support. He on Wednesday night got proper run support. The Nats offense in this 8-2 win at the Cardinals was very good. The Nats scored 8 runs, though on just 9 hits. How? Well, 6 of the 9 hits were extra base hits. The Nats had 3 home runs, 3 doubles, and 3 singles. And the Nats went 5 for 10 with runners in scoring position. The Nats worked 2 walks. James Wood, he is the Nats starting left fielder and number 2 batter, went 1 for 4 with a solo homer. Wood in the Nats 1-run 7th had a 1-out solo homer to right center field for an 8-1 Nats lead. The homer went a projected 433 feet per StatCast. So your updated James Wood stats for this regular season, he is number 1 among all qualified Nats players in OPS at 939 and is number 1 on the Nats in home runs at 24. Number 2 on the Nats in homers is Nathaniel Lowe at 14. He is the Nats starting first baseman and number 5 batter, went 2 for 4 with a 3-run homer and a single. Lowe in a Nats 3-run first had a 2-out 3-run homer to right field for a 3-0 Nats lead. And Ahmed Rosario, he is the Nats starting second baseman and number 3 batter, went 1 for 4 with a solo homer. Rosario in a Nats 1-run 5th had a leadoff homer to left field on a 1-2 pitch for a 7-1 Nats lead. The homer went a projected 434 feet per StatCast. I tell you, Ahmed Rosario continues to be productive when he plays. He, for this regular season, 149 plate appearances, OPS of 747. He's a veteran on a 1-year contract. I do wonder if Rosario might be a viable trade chip for the Nats. And the Nats bullpen in this 8-2 win at the Cardinals on Wednesday night was good. 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 3 innings. Cole Henry did allow 1 run in 1 inning. He, in the bottom of the 7th, allowed a run on a double, a walk, and an RBI single. But Jackson Rutledge tossed a perfect bottom of the 8th. And Luis Garcia, in his Nats debut, tossed a perfect bottom of the 9th with 2 strikeouts. The Nats on Tuesday afternoon announced having agreed to terms with Garcia on a 1-year major league contract. This is his age 38 season. First win for Miguel Cairo as Nats interim manager. We, during his post-game session with reporters on Wednesday night, had this exchange.
Now you're only 2 games into the job. What does it mean to earn the win today?
It was good. Yeah. It was good for my friend David. This one, it was for him, because he's the one that put this team together and believe in these players and put the coaching and staff together. So this is a go to him.
Yeah, Miguel Cairo, very loyal to his friend, fired Nats manager Davey Martinez. Also with the Nats on Wednesday, we on Wednesday afternoon learned that starting pitcher Trevor Williams is in fact done for the season. The Nats this past Friday morning announced having placed Williams on the 15-day injured list due to a right elbow sprain. The Nats on Tuesday afternoon announced having transferred Williams to the 60-day injured list, a telltale sign that the Nats are not expecting Williams back anytime soon. And sure enough, Williams on Wednesday afternoon revealed that he has a partial tear of the ulnar collateral ligament, the UCL of his right elbow, and he will undergo a right UCL procedure of some kind. The procedure, whether it is an internal brace procedure or Tommy John surgery, will end his season, which has not gone well. The Nats this past December 31st announced having agreed with Williams on a 2-year contract for him as a free agent to re-sign with the team. The deal, a 2-year contract worth a reported $14 million. This season is his age 33 season, and it now is done. Meantime, Mike Rizzo, he on Wednesday morning spoke at length publicly for the first time since Nats managing principal owner Mark Lerner this past Sunday evening announced having fired Rizzo as Nats president of baseball operations and general manager, and having fired Davey Martinez as manager. Rizzo appeared on the Sports Junkies on 106.7 The Fan. Rizzo would not directly answer the question of whether him being fired was a function of him not wanting to fire Davey. A theory has been that Lerner's intent may have only been to fire Davey, but that Rizzo refused to fire Davey, and so Lerner ended up firing Davey and Rizzo. Rizzo would not directly answer this question. Here's an exchange between John Paul Flame and Mike Rizzo, and then you'll hear a follow-up exchange.
Short answer, because I think you danced around it, and maybe you're still going to dance around it, but were you given an ultimatum to fire Davey that would have maybe saved your job? Because that is what fans think.
Again, not
right.
discussing it. We had a lot of discussions over the almost 20 years I've been here. August 24th was my 19th year anniversary. Would have been, so we've got a lot of water under the bridge. We've had a lot of decisions to make. We've had a lot of discussions, arguments, yelling matches, hugs, and kisses.
It's not a no.
All right, so you don't want to answer that. How about this? Did you feel handcuffed in free agency?
The secret of being a good executive and a good general manager is you do the best you can for what you have. And we all have we've all gone through this, whether you're in baseball or in life in general. You do the best with what you have, and we didn't in ownership's eyes, we didn't do enough with it, and so they made a change.
All right. Mike Rizzo in recent years clearly was handcuffed in free agency via the budgets that he was given by the Lerner ownership group. Of that, there is no doubt. And to go back to the first part of that cut, honestly, I'm not sure how much the true answer to this question of whether Mark Lerner firing Mike Rizzo was a function of Rizzo not wanting to fire Davey Martinez actually matters, because both Rizzo and Davey deserved to be fired, but it would be interesting to know what Mark Lerner's true intent was this past Sunday. Also, Rizzo on Wednesday morning got asked about analytics, given that Mike DeBartolo in his session with reporters on Tuesday afternoon made a big deal about the Nats needing to do a lot more with data and technology. We on Wednesday's show, episode 1109, talked at length about these comments, which to me were outstanding, very refreshing. I loved what DeBartolo had to say on Tuesday afternoon. We on Wednesday morning had this exchange between Eric Bickel and Mike Rizzo.
I know you're sensitive to this idea that the Nats are behind the curve analytically. What do you have to say to people, and especially even some quotes from some
media too,
some guys saying, hey, it's going to be totally different now, right? They're going to embrace analytics more. What do you say to that?
Embrace analytics, embrace scouting, embrace whatever you have to embrace. You got to win. And if you win four divisions in 6 years and you win a world championship in 8 years, then you succeeded. And if you didn't, all the computers and all the scouts and all the development people in the world have failed. And there's a lot of ways to win in this game, and there's a lot of ways to build championship rosters, and when you have people with smart ideas and diverse opinions, and that I think that's the healthiest thing you could have. We had it here, and I think that's the reason we had such success in the organization.
All right, so that was a non-answer answer from Mike Rizzo, who isn't necessarily anti-analytics, but who has a scouting background and who has never been known for being big on analytics. The Nats hired Mike Rizzo in July 2006, promoted him to interim general manager in March 2009, and removed the interim tag from his GM title in August 2009. The MLB of today is very different than the MLB of 2009. Every team in MLB now is smart. Every team in MLB now is in on data and technology. They're in MLB now is an information arms race like never before. The Nats in the information arms race have fallen behind big time. This is a big part of what Mike DiBartolo was talking about on Tuesday afternoon. You know, the more that I think about the firings on Sunday evening and hear from the parties involved and read the reporting, the more that I do think that the right call was made. Now, I would have been fine with giving Mike Rizzo and Davey Martinez until the end of this season, but things were not going well, and change was needed. And while I still have big-time questions about ownership, the Lerner family, I don't know how you couldn't have big-time questions about ownership. The truth is that Mike Rizzo and Davey Martinez were not doing good enough jobs. And specific to Rizzo, the drafting and player development of the Nats have been really bad. And when it comes to something as important as analytics, his answer to that question on Wednesday morning, quite frankly, was unimpressive and uninspiring and in no way contradicted what Mike DiBartolo said on Tuesday afternoon. Quote, "We need real change. I'm excited to bring a fresh approach, a fresh voice to this role and integrate more data, more technology, more innovation into our decision-making across the organization at all levels." End quote. Mike DiBartolo said that on Tuesday afternoon. That was an indictment of Mike Rizzo, whether DiBartolo meant for that to be an indictment of Rizzo or not. Game 3 for the Nats at the Cardinals Thursday night at 7:45. Michael Soroka will be the Nats starting pitcher. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Friday show, episode 1111. 1111. We'll have much more on the Commanders. And on Friday show, we'll talk Nationals and Orioles. The Nats are at the St. Louis Cardinals Thursday night at 7:45 in Game 3 of a 3-game series. The O's are home to the New York Mets for a split doubleheader on Thursday in Games 2 and 3 of a 3-game series. Game 1 at 12:05 p.m., Game 2 at 5:05 p.m. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and I'll talk to you on Friday.
Strategery.